All right. So I think you should all get a message. We're recording. So, all right. So hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. We are the Wealth Management Association. I'm Justin. Going to get started here. So welcome to WMA. What we're going to do today is first we're going to start off with some introductions from the e-board and the news team, and then we're going to run through what our meetings are going to look like here in the virtual environment and the other content, and then we're going to pass it off to Professor Schiestel, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the wealth management program. So to kick things off here, like I said a little bit ago, I'm Justin Halverson. I'm the president of WMA this year. I'm a senior finance major at Eli Broad, involved in the MSU CFP program. This summer, I worked as a financial advisor for Plant Moran, and I'm working in the Russell Palmer Career Management Center as a peer coach. So if you guys have any resume questions or interview questions, anything like that, feel free to come shoot them my way. So with that, I'll pass it off to Alexandra, our internal vice president.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandra. I'm also a senior finance major with a minor in entrepreneurship and innovation. This past summer, I interned at Plant Moran and the Plant Moran Insurance Agency as a wealth transfer intern. And this past summer, I also spent time with my family because I was home. So that was really nice. And yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Derek. I'm the external vice president. I'm a senior this year, and also, like Justin Alexandra, I'm majoring in finance. I'm going to the wealth management program here. This past summer, I interned for a smaller RIA out of Brighton, Michigan called Archer Huntley. My title is just a financial planning intern. And during the school year, gonna look for some part-time jobs, but other than that, just DoorDash here and there.
What's going on, everybody? My name's Costa Giannotis, senior finance major, part of the CFP program here. This last summer, I also interned with Plant Moran, so I'm pretty familiar with Justin and Alexandra on Teams. Other than that, feel free to reach out if you have questions about getting internships or what the CFP program's like here, what the classes are, anything like that. And then I'm also in the insurance and risk management minor, so if anybody's in that, feel free to reach out about that as well.
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm the director of recruitment. This past summer, I worked for Security and Financial Advisors, which is a Fortune 500 company, and they have one location based out of Okemos. And I also was working for MSU Center for Venture Capital, Private Equity, and Entrepreneurial Finance this summer. I also am the president of the Women's Association of Venture Capital and Private Equity, so if anyone has questions about that, let me know.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Yes,
Yep.
Can I get a thumbs up? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. My name is Justin Jackson. I'm the director of member relations. This summer, I worked as a financial associate for a local firm here in Lansing. I'm going to hand it over now to Jake from the Spartan Journal news team.
Hi, I'm Jake Hieronyma. I'm a junior finance major here at Broad. This summer, I lived in Johnson City, Tennessee, and this semester, I'm going to be working for the Oaks as a leasing agent. And now I'll pass it on to Oscar.
Oh, do you guys hear me now? All right, cool.
Yep.
Hey everybody, my name is Oscar Garner. I'm a senior finance major in Broad. I'm an Evans Scholar. This past summer, I did the Financial Planners Association virtual externship, looking to work in wealth management, just like everybody else here. Pass it on to Vincent.
Hi everyone, my name is Vincent Pacillo. I am a marketing major with the minor in entrepreneurship and innovation. I'm a junior, and I spent this summer working at a company called Digested Organics out in Farmington Hills, Michigan, where I'm a sales and development intern, and I'm still currently working there right now. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Justin now.
Okay, cool. So now I'm going to take a minute and talk about what wealth management actually is. The definition here is wealth management is a high-level professional service that combines financial and investment advice, accounting, tax services, retirement planning, and legal or estate planning for one set fee. So basically, wealth management, being a financial advisor, it all comes down to being like the CFO of a family's personal finances. And we can get more into detail later if you have any more questions about really what is wealth management, but at a high level, that's what it is. Okay, and so here's a brief industry overview. There's a lot more detail we can go into, but here are kind of like the three big company types that you can work for in our industry. One is an RIA, which is a registered investment advisor. That's actually what I work for. And basically you're held to the fiduciary standard, which means you're legally obligated to hold yourself to the client's best financial interest. And that's more monitored by the SEC. And in order to charge a fee for investment advice, you need to pass the Series 65, which I'm currently studying for. Underneath that is the broker-dealer wirehouse world. And basically, it's a more transactional business where you buy and sell securities. And then underneath that is the family office setting, which is basically like a team of attorneys, CPAs, CFPs, financial advisors all together to help either a single family or multiple families. And typically, this is very high net worth families.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Justin. So next, I'm going to do a brief overview here of what we do here at WMA, and then we're going to go into a couple offer this year. So our goal here at the Wealth Management Association is to help launch our members' careers. So whether you're somebody who's already landed a job, or somebody who's still looking for a job, or somebody maybe not at the stage yet, somebody who's at the resume building stage, we're offering a multitude of different educational and networking opportunities for you guys to build those resumes and make sure that you hit the ground running when you are starting as a financial advisor. So how do we do that? One of the main things is our weekly meetings every Tuesday at 6:30 here on Microsoft Teams. We're using Microsoft Teams instead of Zoom. I used it in my internship this summer. I found it a lot easier to integrate with like my Outlook calendar and a lot of things. So I know it might be a learning curve at first, but I found like it's a lot easier than Zoom. It's a lot cleaner. So that's why we're deciding to use Teams. So during those weekly meetings, we're going to have our guest speaker series. Like today, we have Professor Sheastel here. And those are going to come from all over the industry, like Justin Jackson was talking about a little bit earlier. We're going to kick it off with Plant Moran here in two Tuesdays, somebody in the RIA space. But this fall semester, we have people from all over the industry coming in and to talk about their experiences. So including those weekly meetings, we have our educational and mentorship programs. So like I touched on a little bit earlier, maybe for those people not at the internship phase, trying to build their resume, freshmen, sophomores, mentorship programs are a great way to get resume bullet points and to get experience, like totally free, and really ways to help leverage internships later in the career. So we'll talk about that in a second here. Another way is our educational content. So this year we have things such as podcasts and our Spartan journal that help, it's designed to help all our members stay informed with market news and be able to, again, leverage into internships and really launch your careers. So one of our biggest things is the mentorship program, like I've been alluding to here. This is something I've been a part of, and a few of other members and e-board members have been a part of. And it's just, I couldn't highly recommend it more. So any freshmen, sophomores, even juniors out there, I would highly suggest signing up for our mentorship program, the FBA mentorship program on our website. What you're going to do is get paired with an independent advisor who is a member of the Financial Planning Association of Michigan, and they're going to walk you through a bunch of really whatever you ask them to do. So I was able to, before COVID, go into their office. Now everything's online, but what you're able to do is get a virtual internship experience almost in little short bits that you can put on your resume and leverage into greater opportunities later on. So if you guys have any more questions, we're going to save those for the end here. But if you have any questions about signing them up, please drop them in the chat and we'll make sure to get those answered for you. So the next thing we're offering this year is the Spartan Journal. So this is a new weekly newsletter that we have 3 dedicated leaders here, wealth scholars, to give you members an insight into like market news and really cut through all the noise out there that's going on in the news cycle right now. So what we're aiming at is to deliver market news from an objective and dispassionate perspective, and that's in an easy to read bullet point format. New issues are every Tuesday. They're going to come out with our weekly email reminders, and they're available in PDF or on our website, mswma.com. The other new thing we are offering our members this year is a WMA Podcast. So that is myself and Justin Jackson, who you heard a little bit earlier, taking turns interviewing people like Professor Schiestel, who just so happened to be the first guest on our show a few weeks ago. And what it is just a little bit deeper dive into maybe their background and why they decided to become a financial advisor. And this is aimed at giving everybody like the different tastes of the industry and talking to individuals and trying to figure out what the day-to-day life of a different advisor is. So this has been great. We have new episodes coming out every Thursday. We actually are going to have 2 episodes coming out this Thursday. One is just a conversation with an advisor. This is great. This is actually my mentor from the FPA program last year. And then another one with the director of the Russell Palmer Center, Kristen Hintz. So this one is actually aimed specifically at getting a job right now in the virtual environment. So if you guys check out our website, you can hit subscribe on Apple and Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check out that one with Kristen. That one's great for anybody who's looking to go to any of these career fairs in the upcoming weeks. So here's a bit of our highlights here. We touched on the big things. So beyond what I talked about earlier, the job board is another huge offer we have for our members. So what we do, Professor Schiestel, a lot of people, he sends us a lot of people contact us and Professor Schiestel with job opportunities. They find out about our great CFP program that we're going to learn a bit more about in a second, and they want to figure out how they can help. So what we decided to do was start a job board with people who are specifically trying to hire Spartans from our CFP program. We've got 2 of them up right now. They're looking for us Spartans, and great opportunity for anybody looking for an internship or full-time position. So before we kick it off to Professor Schiestel, I guess I'm going to look. I haven't had a chance to look at the chat here, but does anybody have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand or drop them in the chat real quick. Well, if not, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. And then, hey, Professor Schiestel, do you want me to still, I can,
yeah, why don't you run the slideshow from your side, and I'll just say, just click to the next one.
I'll keep an eye out. Yep.
Perfect.
I see when's the Finance Career Fair. That is next Tuesday from 4 to 8 p.m. So, okay. All right, just 1 second here. I'm getting the slide deck up. All right. So.
Okay. So you want me to are we good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go. Yeah, technical difficulty. Sorry, I should have practiced this beforehand. But thank you very much, Professor Schiestel. Here we go with the Financial Planning Wealth Management Program.
Yeah, thanks. It is interesting in the world that we are. Something as simple as sharing screens, and I guess my takeaway on this is practice early and figure out where the bumps are in the road. But we'll make it through. So again, my name is Steve Schiestel. I'm a professor in the finance department here at Michigan State. Been very privileged to be the program director for our wealth management program. Just to give everyone a little bit of background. So the program really became, the first year that we were able to kick it off was 2 years ago. So our first graduates came across the stage with, at that first year, a finance degree. The program is still at, as it was then, kind of still now, it's more of a description of classes. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But 2 years ago in April of 2019, we had 16 students that completed all the coursework. Out of those 16, 11 of them went into the industry. Last year, we had 19 students, again, complete all the coursework. Out of those, 17 went in the industry. And so this year, we're actually, I think, at 28 seniors and like 14 juniors. And so we're making some great growth from the standpoint, I guess, of spreading the word on campus and letting more and more students know what the program is and what the career is all about. And now kind of the challenge is, on my end anyways, is to make sure that everyone is going to walk away with some real good, cool career opportunities. But I think as the Michigan State story continues to get told, both in the state and maybe even regionally, where we're getting more and more good reception from businesses. So with that being said, Justin, if you want to just click on the next. Okay, so I know Justin Jackson had a description. So I always kind of start off, what is wealth management? What's financial planning? So if we click on to the next one. So, helping clients make smart decisions with their money. So years ago, I came across this definition from a guy named Bill Backrack. And Bill Backrack was a former broker, went into more of the advising side for advisors, consultant, helping advisors develop and interact with their own clients. And he kind of coined this, that, what we do is help clients make smart decisions with their money. And it really is so true. Money as an asset, money as a descriptor of the resources that we have, and how do we help people make good decisions, smart decisions with their money. So that's kind of the definition that works. We can do the more academic one. We can do the one that's up here, regardless of the fact of just kind of describing that we're working with people, okay, to help them understand what's important to them and help them make decisions that's going to really get them and propel them for, their objectives, their goals that they have. Okay, we can flip to the next one. So when you think of, if you want to go back one. Okay, perfect. So sometimes the description, because we've labeled our program, the program for financial planning and wealth management. One thing that we're in the works on now, again, for seniors, we probably won't have it done in time, but we are going through the academic governance process, and it's about a year to get a program officially blessed by the university. But one thing from the dean, kind of a direction from the dean, from the department chair in finance, is that they want to turn the program into an actual minor. That way, really what it does is it becomes transcriptable, but really what's happening when it becomes a minor is exactly what we're doing today. So really it won't change anything other than that. But again, we use the terminology there because, for one, financial planning is closely related to the CFP, the Certified Financial Planner designation, and then wealth management is kind of what the industry views it. So it makes it a little confusing, but I think this chart really does a good job where you think of planning as, sitting down, coming up with a plan to help someone hit these various aspects that affects their financial lives. And so if we go around the circle here, cash flow management, really what we're looking at is, is someone having an issue at either the income level or at their expense level? And I can tell you from back, pre-Michigan State days when I was an advisor, it might be as simple as having a conversation that really your problem, Mr. and Mrs. Client, is that you just spend too much money, okay? Or maybe it's a case where, based on how your lifestyle is, you really need to supplement it with some type of income. So that's what we're getting with cash flow management. And really those are sometimes very difficult conversations to have, but it really then sets everything up for these other elements to work out. Debt management, as you can see, is like, is someone just over indebted? Is there things we need to do that might put them in a better structure? Maybe they have too much credit card debt. How do we work them out of it? maybe they have too much real estate, mortgage debt, that type of stuff. Education planning, I think we can probably all relate to that. This would be for clients thinking about their kids or grandkids and how much do they want to support on that front and how is the best way to do that. Insurance planning, risk management, really any best laid plan can blow up if something happens, if someone gets sick, if someone becomes disabled, if one of the two people in a couple, one passes away. So it's really like, how do we mitigate those risks by having good insurance products and services to help us support that. Retirement planning has its own little sleeve because really when you ask the majority of people, they're planning their financial lives around their eventual retirement is going to be one of those top goals. And one software, there's a lot of different financial planning software, but one that I have some familiarity is called Money Guy Pro. And built into Money Guy Pro as one of their top goals that they start planning process around is retirement planning. So again, that's an awful lot of what we do. Next sleeve over would be investment planning. And this is probably the one that I think gets most people excited about the discipline is because you're dealing with the markets. And really for a lot of clients, this is where they're going to think of it hiring an advisor is that I got these pool of assets, whether retirement assets or their taxable assets, and I need to do something with them. Okay. But what I would say though is that depending on the sophistication of the client, some of these other aspects of this whole periphery of different things may become more important. But again, investment planning, how do I best position a portfolio to meet the goals and objectives of the person? Estate planning, how do I dispose of assets, whether during my life through gifting or upon my death through different vehicles in order to spread those assets to others. And then finally, tax planning. How can we make decisions in the most economical and fair way to try to minimize maybe the tax impact that might be facing us? So these are all unique technical skills that a planner has to be able to learn so they can become an efficient planner. Okay, so that's a long, but you can tell there is a robustness to this. Okay, so the one thing, and right now, and I've told this story, I think, to a lot of different audiences of students over the last couple of years, and really the story hasn't changed, is that, today in the United States, we have about 300,000 advisors, give or take, depending on which data service has put together the numbers. But if we can assume 300,000 is a good number, based on the age of the current advisor community, okay, about anywhere from a quarter to a third of those are expected to retire or be at retirement age in the next 10 years. Okay, so what does this mean is that the industry is definitely aging and that there should be some very nice opportunities for students who have a desire to do this as a career. So that's cool thing number one. And that's really the third bullet point. I guess I always start there, where we are on the bottom, so I'm not really following following the chronology of these bullets. But that alone, now the one thing is that we're seeing is, and I think Justin Jackson had the one slide where he said there's these different channels that people can go into the business as. Like, are you going through a registered investment advisor and kind of being hired as an analyst? Are you going to go into maybe a broker, an independent broker, or a licensed broker through one of the wirehouses, let's say a Merrill Lynch or something like that, where you're more sales oriented? Where those opportunities present and what best matches with your personality and skill set and whatnot. It's just something to be aware of. And really in our Finance 370 class, we're spending some front end time just talking about those those opportunities right now anyways. So that's the first thing. One, there's going to be a great opportunities for people that are looking at it just to replace those that are going to be kind of moving on into transitioning into the next stage of their life. Next thing is that we're seeing is that people are living longer as the advances in medicine takes place and life expectancies are growing, that as a result of that, people who didn't think that they were going to need financial advice are quickly realizing that they will need financial advice. Best story is a good friend of mine. I remember even having this conversation with him a few years ago. He was one you'd look on Facebook and he'd be going to all these really cool places. I'm like, man, how can you bankroll all this? And one day he said, listen, my grandpa died at like 55. My dad died at 55, so I'm probably not going to live long. And then all of a sudden he gets to 55, 56, and it's like, then all of a sudden he said, you know what? I need to start planning for the future. So medical advances change. People's expectations change. They know that now that maybe there's an opportunity, okay, depending on how I live, that it could be very reasonable that I might be living until I'm age 80, age 90. So I have to start planning around that. And then finally, I guess that middle bullet point, we kind of went all around it, is that most Americans are really not prepared for retirement. Okay, they're just not saving enough. So hopefully all of you on the call will be, whether you decide to go in the industry or you're participating in this club just to learn so that you yourself can make good advice with your own money, spread the word. Okay. Justin and all of the team, all of the e-board is going to have some great programming throughout the year, but truly to get a good basis, it's pretty simple in the sense of just try to live within your means and save as much as you possibly can. And if you can do that and then don't get scared out of the market when the market does weird things, it'll be amazing what you could grow, how your money could grow to as time goes on. Okay, so we'll move on from there. Jobs in the industry. I just put this slide in. There's a lot of terminology here. There's a lot of job titles that you might see. Wealth advisor, financial advisor, financial consultant. Financial consultant is probably the terminology that we see kind of in the broker-dealer space a little bit more. But again, look at that as in the financial planner. Those are kind of like frontline folks working with people. Okay, and I always characterize it as that if you are someone that you think of like, I want to help, assist, guide, be a helping hand. Those are some of those descriptors when you think about things that really kind of excite you, which might be one of those that would say, well, you know what, maybe this is a good career for me. Okay, because that's really what we need. We almost have to go into it like at the kind of the heart of the teacher, as Dave Ramsey would say. And we have to have this heart of a teacher, of a guide, of a coach to help people with these types of decisions. Other type of positions, chief investment officer, investment operations that are inside of the firms. I mean, there's lots of compliance and operations folks that work in the industry that may not be frontline advisors, but they're still super important to the survival of firms. Okay, next. Okay, so let's talk about our program. So the program as it currently exists is that when it became quote unquote a program, it was around the fact that we were able to get the program registered with the CFP board. Okay, so what does that mean? In order to earn the CFP or the Certified Financial Planner, which I kind of describe as is that it's like the CPA for financial advisors. Okay, for those that are working hand in hand with the client, it does give a validation that you kind of know what you're going to help people get, that you're giving advice for. Okay, one of the things on the CFP though is there's something called the 4 E's. Okay, so there's 4 things in order to have the designation behind your name. 1, you have to agree to act in an ethical manner. And by that, primarily what it means is that you will act in a fiduciary capacity, which means that you will make decisions, that you will provide advice that is in the client's best interest. The second E is education, that you will comply and you will enroll in a program that will be generally 6 classes, 18 credits, covers 72 learning objectives, and that's where we come in. Okay, so our program here at Michigan State is registered, and once all of the classes are successfully completed, that's kind of check mark that you've accomplished that. The third E is the exam, that you'll actually sit down, you have to do this post-graduation, and once you complete the exam, then you're really on to the next piece, which is to get the work experience. Generally, let's call it 3 years. There's other ways you can accelerate some of the time, but generally look at it as 3 years. And once you have the appropriate experience, then you become a CFP. And so getting it done while in school has been a huge benefit, because once you start working, you can imagine there's all these other things that finds a way to kind of encroach on our times. So what are some of the other opportunities that we have within the program? Well, we have it right here. Okay, the Wealth Management Association, the student group, all the great work that the e-board is doing, kind of building on some one student reaching out to me like 3 years ago to start the student group, and look at what it's become. So this is awesome. participating in industry conferences. When we get to a post-COVID world, there's going to be opportunities, and as we continue to fundraise within the program, to be able to give students the opportunity to go to industry conferences. So Justin last year was one of the 2 students that accompanied me to the Schwab Impact Conference, which was a conference of like 5,000 advisors in San Diego. Gave an opportunity for us to spread the Michigan State story, but then secondly, just for Justin and Tressa to kind of see what this is all about and kind of bring back to all their friends and everyone else in the program kind of what the industry is all about. Obviously now we're in the COVID world. A lot of these programs are virtual, but again, it's just these are great opportunities. Career services, getting internships, full-time, and then mentorship. So I'll kind of echo Justin's point earlier about the FPA. We had kind of talked about, do we do something within Michigan State, within the program with alum on a mentorship program? Boy, but the FPA has put a lot of time and effort in this. They got people ready and willing. So I would really suggest anyone, whether you're a freshman all the way to senior, that taking the FPA up on their opportunities for mentorships can be a huge help. Because even if it's a case where you're sitting here going, I'm a senior, I'm in the final classes, I haven't really locked down a full-time opportunity, what things can you do? And even you never know if someone's on the outside, they might be able to find something, their radar might be up. And I wouldn't leave any stone kind of unturned on that front. Let me see, what do we got next? Okay, this might be the last slide. So again, what are the classes in the program? Finance major or Broad students are all going to take Finance 311. So the way we structure this is to try as much as we possibly can to kind of leverage off other classes. So other programs, this is going to be it could be differently designed. We just did it to fit everyone's schedule as best as we could. So Finance 311, all Broad students have to take that class. Finance 312 is a requirement for all finance students. And then we have our Finance 370 intro class. So we have a combination of juniors and seniors in that class. Finance 380, which is also part of our insurance and risk management minor. Generally, right now, it's a fall class right now. Finance 491, soon it's going to get its own unique number, which is an income and an estate planning class. That honestly probably is the most challenging class in the program. Most other programs, these are 2 separate classes, but in order to make it work, we had to push it into one. So I would say that, if it wasn't for the confidence that we have in all of you as Spartan students, we probably wouldn't ask that of maybe lesser students. So as you go through it, pat yourself on the back for that. And then finally, Finance 470, which is the capstone class, case-based class, where it kind of summarizes everything. And I'm trying to see okay, next steps. Stay involved here. Look at this as a potential career, and see if it fits. So for some of the underclassmen, this would be a great opportunity to think about, boy, it's hard to believe here we are, September, thinking about, class enrollments, in the spring, but just knowing that we got this program and there's more good things to come, I'm pretty excited about. And that's it. So questions, this would be a great opportunity for any type of questions, whether it's program related, industry related. I'm here to answer anything.
Let's see. Can we ask the crowd how many people right now, if you can find your raise your hand thing, are enrolled in the wealth management program, like are in some of these classes?
I'm in them.
Boom, got a bunch here. Awesome.
Okay. Cool.
That's great. So for the mentorship program, do you need to be within the Broad College? No, anybody can take that. Yeah, anybody, and econ majors, you guys can all take that. So yeah, absolutely.
And let me just real quick, so FPA, and again, like every single major, every single profession, you're loaded with these acronyms. And so anyway, so FPA stands for Financial Planning Association. So it is a member-only membership group of financial advisors, mostly independent advisors, but there's still like Merrill Lynch financial advisors, let's say, that are included. But generally, it's going to be more CFP oriented, advisors. And so whenever we show up to these groups, I know last fall we went to the FPA of Michigan, so the Financial Planning Association of Michigan. They held a fall symposium, and I think we had like 10 Spartans there. And most of the other advisors are always really geeked up to see young people interested in this career. And so you know the old timers will be going by and see like when Costa and Justin and some of those that were then Plymouth last year, and just saying, oh, great to see you here. And we noticed that even when we were in San Diego, where there was a lot of excitement, I think, where advisors, I think a lot of these advisors, especially in maybe smaller firms, I mean, they've put a lot of years of sweat and blood and tears into their practices, and seeing next generation of people coming in, I think is definitely encouraging for them. Now we just got to get everyone, fired up to start doing some hiring, right?
Yeah, Shisto, the other cool thing about that, if I could just add on to what you said, was that CMU was also there. So they have a financial planning program there, and we kind of got to talk to some students in that program, which is, I think it's a little bit more developed than ours is. I think it's a couple more years into it, but it was cool to kind of share experiences with like classes and looking for internships and stuff like that. So. Yeah,
that's a great point. I mean, if just for, hey, we all like to compete, right? And so within the state of Michigan, Central Michigan has a program, Western Michigan has a program, Davenport, which is outside of Grand Rapids, I think, has a program. There's a couple of master's programs, but I think there's already great traction, for ours. I mean, really, one of my biggest objectives have been to spread the Spartan story really throughout the state. And then probably the next one is how to spread the story into, almost in my mind, I mean, I was just talking to Fund Development the other day about, the advisor community in greater Chicago, Ohio, Indiana. I mean, really the Midwest. I mean, some of the Big Ten schools have some great programs. And, I think that's where, if we can line them up and help basically inform the industry that all of you are here and ready to go to work in this front. This is kind of one thing that a lot of the program directors are kind of sharing as far as objectives.
Derek actually brought something up, a pretty good point in the chat. So do you need to be a finance major to be in the wealth management program?
You do not.
In general?
Yeah, you really don't. Obviously it's going to help in general if you're a finance major, because you're going to take other broad classes that, work your brain in some other business areas, and it's good stuff to know in general. But no, you don't. Like there's a lot of people who just want to major in economics and become a financial advisor or accounting. It doesn't matter. And I think it's mostly because, well, one, we want a lot of people in the program, and also two, in the real world, it doesn't matter. Like you don't need to be a finance major to be a financial advisor. I've talked to people who work at smaller firms, and he's just like, yeah, if I wanted my secretary to be an advisor, she easily could. I would pay her to do the testing. She has a bachelor's degree, and she could do that. So, there's a lot of flexibility, and if you're not, just go speak to an academic advisor and have that discussion. Hey, like, I want to get into this program, and they're pretty lenient with overrides and can help you get into this program. So.
Yeah, and just to, that's a great question. I was just listening to a podcast. Michael Kitkus is one of the names, that writes enormous amount of stuff. He has a podcast for advisors. And he was talking to a lady that runs a firm, and she actually says for her customer service people, the frontline people, she actually starts and goes to like Starbucks, because they said like the frontline person has to have super strong customer relationship skills, and then we can start teaching them other aspects of it. So that's just one model, but think about it as that you can have the greatest finance skills, but if you don't have the other thing that Derek just kind of referenced, I think that kind of the that caring, helpful nature, then it might not be the best fit. And I was just kind of, one story along this line is that years ago when I was at Citizens Bank, I was doing equity research. We used to buy research from Harris Bank out of Chicago, and there was this transportation analyst, CFA, outstanding analyst. Okay, he could tear a 10K apart better than anyone, but he was the biggest grouch on the phone. Whenever we had to have a question, we were like, oh my God, who's going to call Bob? And me and this other guy, we'd be like, okay, it's your turn. And you'd call it there and you're just waiting. You're like, I'm the customer calling you. And you'd feel like you're just getting your head ripped off. And finally, one day he says, yeah, I love my job except talking to people. And I'm like, no kidding. So this guy would be disastrous in a financial planning because his customers would hate him, right? So then you're like, dude, you're in the right place. You're a railroad analyst. No one's going to bug you. Just write and research. But you got to know where you are. I mean, he kind of knew like, hey, keep me in my office, door closed, no phone. I'll crunch through spreadsheets. Other people that are really good at this, I can do the finance piece, but working and helping people is really kind of in the DNA.
Yeah, so does anybody else, I see we've got a lot of people with their hands still raised. Does anybody else still have any questions for Professor Schiestel? If you could lower your hand unless you do, and we can just call on people real quick and you can pop off and ask your question. All right, so let's see. So, awesome. Okay, so it's like last call here for questions. Do we have any more? All right.
Nobody's got any questions at all. Seriously.
Well, we've got one more, just a couple last button-up announcements here. So anybody, feel free if you come up with any more. First of all, thank you guys all so much for being here today. Here's a couple of our upcoming events. So we're not going to be meeting next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the Finance Career Fair. We really encourage everybody to go to that. Great networking opportunities. Even if, great opportunities, even though it's online. Like I said earlier, we are going to be releasing a podcast on Thursday exclusively about how you can navigate this environment and the things you can do. So look out for that on Thursday and definitely go check out the Finance Career Fair. So our next meeting is going to be the following Tuesday, so 2 weeks from today, and we're going to be hosting Plant Moran Financial Advisors. This is where I interned this summer. We've got a great relationship with them, and they're actually hiring for a bunch of different positions all over right now, and those are on our job board. So if you're interested in that, definitely come to our next meeting. We'll have registration links sent out here in a week, and definitely check out that meeting. So does anybody have any questions about any of those events or anything else that we talked about today?
Can I just echo though the podcast? I mean, I think even the first episode, Justin, that the two of you just talked about your path to where you were. I think if I'm a freshman or a sophomore just considering it, I mean, for 20 minutes, just hearing how two students kind of found their way and found their niche, they were great, and I like the length of it. The one that you guys asked me to participate in was great. My dog's happy that he got some airplay, but short of that, but you guys got some great future guests coming on. I think Colin Overweg, who's an alum, was on, and he was also recently on You're a Financial Planner, Now What? Which again, if you're looking for short podcasts, the FPA has one called You're a Financial Planner, Now What? They're about 40 minutes, and it's really young. Their target is young advisors. So good stuff out there.
Yeah. We've actually got a few, so I didn't bring that up in the meeting. So we've got some recommended podcasts and some reading lists too. So beyond the material we're putting out, you can check that out on our website as well. So see, we got a couple questions here. Joan, for the career fair. So what I would say, definitely listen to the podcast, but keep plugging that. But what you should do, like in years past, is you should kind of like do your research going in. So a lot of these companies are going to be on for like 4 hours. So first of all, consider that a lot of people will probably be showing up maybe an hour and 30 minutes in. So you might want to get there early so you don't get caught in a big line. But what I would personally do attacking like this 4 hour thing, you definitely don't be on for 4 hours, but strategically plan out who you're going to hit and try to hit them, I would say, early, because a lot of people are probably going to jump on after 10, 15 minutes, and you don't know how many people are going to be waiting in line. And, you don't want to be, I don't know, personal opinion. Can you imagine being a resume recruiter who's got to be on calls for 4 hours? Like by the end of the third or fourth hour, you might be pretty burnt out. So hope that answers your question.
And can I just add one thing real quick?
Yeah.
So this is from, talking to people that are on the opposite end. So again, this was in a non-virtual space, but I've heard some of the either alums that are, the practitioners or the HR folks, they do say they can tell when a student approaches them that they don't know anything about the business. So I think I'll echo Justin's point is be very strategic who you want to target, and then do a little bit of research about those companies. And one of the advisors said that he always asked the question of like, he goes, I always start off by saying, why did you pick to go to Michigan State? Why did you pick finance? And then like, why us? And then it's like kind of being a little bit thoughtful. Then, you've always heard of the kind of the typical elevator pitch, like, why me? And so I think, once I know who I'm going to target, then almost, and you kind of see kind of the descriptions maybe about the job. Okay, what things have I done to position as either a intern or a full-time? So these are just some things I've heard from folks that are on the opposite end. That hopefully this will help everyone kind of navigate through this new and exciting world that we're going to have this year.
Yeah, Justin, there was another question. I don't know if you saw it from Cameron Godfrey. He says, what if we're inexperienced in finance but are looking for a career? Are they open to those people?
Yeah, great question, Cameron. So that's I would echo everything I said. I'd probably do your research. So feel free to I guess what I'm going to do actually say is if you're inexperienced, what you might want to do is first do your research on the companies. Like I see, first of all, Vincent, thank you for dropping that in the chat there. So yeah, thank you. So check out the companies, and what you should do is you should look through their job postings. Briefly, by reading the description of what each job is. They always have what your grade level is. So there's some companies out there, like we're going to be hosting companies like Northwestern Mutual. They'll tell you right up, they'll hire you without experience. They're looking for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. So there's a lot of positions out there that'll explicitly say that. Some of the other people, like Plant Moran, for example, they won't hire you till you're a junior. So I would say do your research and be strategic. There definitely are companies out there who are hiring. Just look over the list. Feel free to actually set up an appointment with the Russell Palmer Center. Like I said, I'm a career coach there, but there's a bunch of other peer career coaches like me that are students. Our fellow eBart's here to help. If you come up with a list of potential companies, feel free to shoot us an email, set up a call. We'll be able to help you guide through that. But definitely look them over and look on their handshake job listings. So.
Yeah, Justin, just to add to that, I would say Cameron, I don't know your specific situation, but if you're kind of if you're an underclassman, freshman or sophomore, you can kind of use the career fair to kind of practice for like years ahead. So that's kind of what I did. I went to it, I think my freshman and sophomore year, and I just kind of went in. I did, like Justin said, a bunch of research on some different firms I was looking at. I didn't unfortunately get anything those 2 years, but it was great to like know what you're doing. So you go in the first 2 years, you have no clue. You're kind of like a deer in the headlights. Usually there's a bunch of people walking around. There are a bunch of firms and stuff like that. But and then those next 2 years, you start to get more comfortable in that environment, and you can start kind of really more aggressively going after firms that you'd like to work for or get an internship for.
In this virtual environment, though it does have its challenges, it also offers a lot of unique opportunities. So if you're somebody who's really making an effort, even though you don't have experience, to video chat, to put yourself on these people's radar and to make your resume look as best as you can with the experience you have, companies are going to be looking for that. And I think it's going to be a little bit, in some ways it's going to be harder, but if you have a good LinkedIn profile, if you have a good resume, if you have little things like just little things like your Zoom has a nice little headshot on it, like those things stand out to employers. So even though there are challenges, there's still a lot of opportunities out there in these career fairs. So yeah, Mitchell, do you have another question?
Yeah, I got a quick question. I looked on the link that was posted in there in the chat, and I clicked on it into the handshake portal, and it said the first hour from 4 to 5 p.m. will be held exclusively for paid finance association members to meet with employers. So who does that apply to?
So are you familiar with the Finance Association? That's actually another club at MSU, kind of like us. Yeah, so typically in years past, what they've done is they've always done it like that. And it's kind of just a thing they have for their members, an exclusive thing for them. So I know I've done that in the past. Frankly, I thought it was worth it. I think you pay $20 and you get to get in an hour early. So I don't know. I've definitely done it in the past myself.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one thing along with this year's career fair, previous years when it was, face to face, students would line up depending on the popularity of the firm, and then you'd get your opportunity. And the one thing, and this was talking to a recruiter where they're like, okay, now we're in this virtual world and we're giving, I don't even know, 5-minute slots or 10-minute slots. And they don't know, like, okay, if this was real, and let's say I'm talking to Justin, and then all of a sudden quickly he either realizes he doesn't want to work for me or we just don't have a connection, you can end it really quick. Here they're like, well, do we keep the conversation going? I got a 10-minute slot, and so there could still be, I think, getting back, I think, to Costa's comment, like if I'm a freshman or a sophomore, maybe this is an opportunity for me, like, hey, it's probably not a fit today, but boy, I want to make an impression on you and think about me for the following year. So you can be a lot more strategic this year than maybe in previous years where someone would say, sophomore next, where, use it and be, but I think really having a strategy for the day is just going to make it a much more, I guess, productive experience.
Yeah, so I totally agree with that. And just one last point here. I don't mean to harp on this too much, but that's something that I did as well. So I interned with Plant Moran last semester, but I started talking to them like my freshman year. So I kind of knew a couple people in there. I knew some HR recruiters and some people that worked in the East Lansing office. And then, you make that connection, then you can kind of email them and say, hey, I'm going into my sophomore year, et cetera, et cetera. I'm looking for an internship. Do you guys have any opportunities? And at least you have that connection already where they're not going to be like, who is this? But they'll know who you are. And you can kind of use that going forward.
Yeah, I mean, just to hit that point home even harder, I mean, same with Costa. I had to cultivate that relationship with Plant Moran, but it ultimately turned out with the Charles Schwab conference in San Diego. So I didn't get the job the first time I applied, but they told me to keep applying. So it's definitely important, even if you don't have experience, to go in and just get the at-bats. That's what matters too. So. Awesome. So any more questions here? Anyone else? I think we can all sit, we're all gonna sit here on the line. So if you guys have any more questions you want to ask one-on-one, feel free to just stay on the line here. So if not, thank you guys for joining us today. Yeah, actually, make sure that you follow us on all social media. Sorry, I forgot to give that plug here, but make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube page this year too, where all this is going to be available. So look out for those. We're going to email all that out on Thursday as well. So definitely follow us and look out for our emails, guys. So yeah, and thank you, Professor Schiestel, for joining us today. And thank you all for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Alrighty. Sweet.